What's up, wrestling fans? You're watching Fight Talks News, the one-stop spot for every WWE headline and showdown. Subscribe now and ring that bell. Let's get started. There are moments in wrestling history that transcend titles, rivalries, and even time. Moments that remind us that behind every rivalry lies a story of brotherhood, pain, and unfinished emotion. For years, Dean Ambrose vanished from the WWE Universe, a lone wolf who chose to walk away from the chaos he helped build. But now, in one of the most unexpected turns, the man once known as the Lunatic Fringe has broken his silence. His message wasn't loud or theatrical. It was personal, raw, and filled with the kind of truth that only comes from years of reflection. And it was directed at only one man, Seth Rollins. The fall of the visionary. Seth Rollins has always lived on the edge between brilliance and destruction. From his days as the architect who burned bridges to build empires, to his transformation into the visionary who reshaped WWE's modern era, Rollins has carried both genius and burden. But even visionaries stumble. His recent downfall, stripped of his championship, abandoned by his followers, and betrayed by his own creation, felt like poetic justice and tragedy all at once. The man who once orchestrated others' downfalls now faced his own reckoning. Alone, vulnerable, and publicly broken, Rollins had become a symbol of ambition turned inward, of a leader crushed beneath the weight of his own vision. The return of the Wanderer. Far from the lights of WWE arenas, Dean Ambrose reinvented himself. He bled, fought, and rebuilt his identity under a new name, Jon Moxley, a man shaped by grit and experience rather than spectacle. But beneath the evolution was something familiar, that unpredictable fire, that restless soul who never fully left the brotherhood that once defined him. When Dean appeared in a simple, grainy video, no production, no music, just the faint hum of silence behind him, it felt like the return of a ghost from WWE's past. His expression was steady, his eyes calm yet heavy with emotion. What he said next would shake the foundation of everything fans thought they knew about the Shield's fractured story. The message heard around the wrestling world. "Seth," Dean began softly, "I saw what happened. I saw you lose everything. And I know that feeling better than anyone." His words weren't an accusation. They were empathy forged through shared scars. "They took your vision and twisted it into something ugly. But here's the thing about rock bottom. It's the only place where you can truly rebuild." The delivery was deliberate. Every word carried experience, not vengeance. Dean wasn't offering pity. He was offering a challenge. "The question is," he said, leaning closer to the camera, "are you ready to tear it all down and start again?" In that moment, fans didn't see the unhinged fighter they once knew. They saw a man who had found peace through pain, a man extending his hand not as a rival but as a survivor, a relationship defined by betrayal. To understand the weight of that message, one must return to where it all began. The Shield, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, three men who stormed through WWE as an unbreakable unit bound by loyalty and dominance. They weren't just teammates, they were brothers in arms. And yet, like every great empire, theirs fell from within. When Seth betrayed his brothers in 2014, choosing personal glory over unity, it broke something deeper than trust. Dean's rage wasn't just storyline, it felt personal. For years afterward, every clash between them carried that shadow of betrayal, that haunting question of what could have been if loyalty had prevailed. Parallel journeys of redemption. What makes Dean's message so powerful isn't nostalgia, it's understanding. Both men took paths defined by self-destruction and self-discovery. Seth became the polished visionary who tried to control chaos through perfection. Dean became the wandering rebel who embraced chaos as truth. Each found power, fame, and validation in different worlds, yet both faced isolation when the lights dimmed. That shared experience, success that costs your soul, created an unspoken bond time could not erase. When Dean looked into the camera and spoke, it wasn't to reignite old rivalries. It was to offer something more human, redemption, through empathy. The timing that changes everything. Dean's words didn't appear in a vacuum. The timing couldn't have been more critical. Roman Reigns, the third brother, stands tall as the undisputed tribal chief, holding together an empire of blood and power. With the bloodline's dominance reshaping WWE and younger stars aligning under Paul Heyman's strategic eye, the absence of the Shield's moral counterweight feels larger than ever. For Seth, who once called himself the Visionary, this moment represents a crossroads. He can either fade into the backdrop of Roman's dynasty or embrace the opportunity Dean's message presents, a chance to rebuild not just himself, but something greater. The question isn't whether the Shield can reunite. It's whether these men can evolve together after everything they've lost. More than nostalgia. For years, fans have clamored for a Shield reunion. But what Dean's message offered was something deeper than fan service. It wasn't about black vests, tactical gear, or fists bumping in unison. It was about reconciliation. This would not be the same trio of defiant young men who once fought authority. This would be a meeting of men who have known pain, betrayal, and the cost of ambition. A reunion not born from nostalgia, but from survival. Maybe, Dean said toward the end of the video, it's time to stop pretending we were enemies and admit we were just broken versions of the same dream. It was a sentence that left fans stunned, an olive branch wrapped in realism. Seth Rollins. Between reflection and revolution. As news of the message spread, the wrestling world turned its eyes to Seth Rollins. For days, there was silence. No tweets, no interviews, no cryptic promos, just silence. Insiders described Rollins as reflective, watching the footage over and over. To many, this moment is less about storyline and more about humanity, about a man forced to confront his past and ask if reconciliation is still possible in an industry built on ego. If Rollins responds, it could redefine his entire legacy. If he ignores it, the silence might speak louder than any promo ever could. Either way, Dean's message ensured that the next chapter of their story would not be written in hatred, but in choice. The brotherhood that never truly died. The Shield's story has always been more than just wrestling. It's a reflection of life itself. Brotherhoods fracture, people grow apart, and wounds heal slower than we expect. But sometimes, the same hands that once caused pain are the only ones strong enough to help us rebuild. Dean's words to Seth reminded everyone that wrestling's greatest rivalries are born from love twisted by ambition. Beneath every betrayal lies a bond that refuses to die. Whether they stand side by side again or simply find peace apart, the message is the same. Brotherhood endures, even when it burns. A new era of possibility. If there's one thing the wrestling world has learned, it's that closure rarely comes when expected. Dean Ambrose's return to the narrative, not as an intruder but as a voice of reason, signals something larger. Perhaps this is not about reforming the Shield in the literal sense, but about reforming what they stood for: truth, rebellion, and unity in a divided world. Seth's next move could either spark a revolution or close the book forever. But whatever happens, the spark has already been lit. The fans feel it, the locker room senses it, and even those who doubted that these men could ever share the same space again are beginning to wonder. Maybe time doesn't heal all wounds, but it teaches us how to live with them. What comes next? As the wrestling world watches, one thing is certain. The conversation between Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins isn't over. It's just beginning. It's not about titles or revenge anymore. It's about two men who once changed wrestling, discovering whether they can change themselves. The message was more than an invitation. It was a mirror. And what Seth sees in that reflection could define his legacy forever. Because sometimes the real revolution doesn't happen in the ring, it happens in the heart.